Avoir.
Joined you on book review.
Okay, welcome back to another episode of FitPet Boston Talks. My name is Leah Lori, and I am the host of the show. Today, I am joined by my spouse, Lori.
Hello.
And we are going to do a couple of different things on this episode. Thing number one is I am going to be summarizing the book, The Forever Dog, in prep for a formal book review with another dog trainer. I was scheduled to meet with Autumn Keene today. Something came up so that we couldn't get to it. But what I thought I would do instead is summarize the book, give a couple of my takeaways so that we don't have to not waste time, but spend time doing that when we wind up getting together, because it does take me a few minutes just to kind of get through the book summary. And then Laurie and I are going to talk about a couple of different topics that are completely unrelated to the book. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's about some things I found this week, grooming dogs, because, you know, the holidays are here, so everyone needs their Christmas bath.
Hey. Sorry.
Speaking of,
Yeah,
Ruben could use an allergy bath.
Antifungal bath, the poor guy.
Yeah.
He is doing a little bit better, though. So
He's fine. He just gets a rash, people.
He
You know,
does.
we don't talk about it in public because he didn't want anyone to know that he had a rash.
Yes, he has a little bit of skin irritation. And I have made some dietary changes in that department to try to mitigate some of that stuff, but I think it's going to take some time to see any results. And in the meantime, he gets an antifungal bath on the underside. Try to keep it under control. Okay, so I've been posting on my Instagram stories for the past couple of weeks. I've been making my way through this book called The Forever Dog. And Autumn Keene and I have both read the text, and I found some value in that book. So I figured that we could talk about it on the podcast. As a preamble, I do get relatively nervous when I talk about these books and do these book reviews. And I do quite a bit of prep work because I don't want to misrepresent the text. I also want to be truthful in the way that I present the text, but also my point of views. And it is a challenge for me. It's kind of like writing a book report. So what I thought I'd do is just summarize the text a little bit, because if you're really interested in any of these topics, the best thing for you to do is to read the book or other related material if you find this stuff interesting. But this is a book that frequently gets passed around in dog training and handling circles as a resource for people that are looking to change the way that they vet their dogs, the way that they feed their dogs, and to consider different environmental factors that may be influencing our dog's health. The book was published in 2021. The authors are Rodney Habib and Dr. Karen Becker. She is a veterinarian. Rodney Habib doesn't have any of those types of credentials. And as a general introduction, I just wanted to say that for every argument, there is a counter argument, and both of these authors are highly criticized and refuted. They are also highly supported by nutritionists, veterinarians, and scientists in the field. But if you go online, you can certainly find plenty of people that have strong opinions about this text. They have called the authors pseudoscientists and snake oil salesmen, even though they don't sell anything particularly besides their point of view. But overall, I think the text is balanced enough for readers to come to their own conclusions, and it provides practical solutions to questionable food and environmental problems that our dogs face. The thesis of the book, I think, was to study the world's longest living dogs, which are living 25 plus years, and evaluate their diet, lifestyle, and veterinary care. Some overview considerations. The book is divided into 3 parts. I found the first 2 parts of the book a little bit more difficult to read, more science-y, talks a lot about, just the dog's body, how it works, talks a lot about pet food, how pet food is manufactured, and just a lot of kind of techie speak, and I found it a little bit difficult to digest and get through. And the third part of the book addresses the question of what can I do? So there are some problems that are introduced in the first 2 parts of the book with regard to pet nutrition, environmental things that are affecting our dogs, training techniques, veterinary care, things of that nature. But the third part of the book kind of gives the owner or the handler some suggestions on practical changes that they can make to kind of mitigate the problems that are presented earlier in the book. So I thought that was just a little bit easier to read.
Are you going to say the small stuff?
What do you mean?
Those small changes you can make?
Yeah, I'm going to go through a little bit here. Okay, so part 1 is titled The Modern Unwell Dog. The topics are the rise of cancer and chronic illness in dogs, talks about the history of pet food manufacturing and pet food's influence on longevity. It introduces manufacturing processes which introduce carcinogens and byproducts that cause cell damage in dogs and can influence the way that the dogs are sensitive to insulin. A bunch of acronyms are introduced. Acronyms like RAGE, AGE, MRP, and ALE. All of these acronyms are acronyms for byproducts, chemical byproducts that are a product of heating and reheating dog food. So because animal food is very highly processed, there are chemical reactions that happen specifically around the fat, carbohydrate, and protein sources in the food. And those chemical byproducts, the authors are saying, are dangerous to dogs if they're ingesting this in the long term. The authors introduce a different way besides the 7-year model for aging dogs. So everybody's heard this before, but like 1 human year equals 7 dog years. And that's kind of indicative of the way that dogs go through the aging process. And the authors provide a little bit of a different framework for thinking about how dogs age. It's a little bit quicker in the beginning and then slows down as the dog is getting older. All that to say, dogs obviously don't live as long as humans live. So they go through a much shorter like adolescent and early adulthood period. So I thought that was interesting and helpful. Part 2 of the book is titled The Secrets from the World's Oldest Dogs. And obviously the authors go through and study these dogs and how their owners were managing different things like food, vet care, and exercise. The topics introduce raw or gently cooked foods as being kind of the main food source for these dogs that are living really old. It talks about how inflammation manifests in itis diseases. For example, diseases like gingivitis, arthritis, colitis, dermatitis, etc. All of these types of diseases that our dogs are seemingly getting have to do with inflammation. It talks about the Methuselah genes in dogs and a lot about epigenetics, so how genes are expressed based on what the dog is exposed to environmentally and what they are eating. Timed eating is a big topic in this book, talking about intermittent fasting and having dogs eat in an 8-hour feeding window, which mimics the circadian rhythm. This part goes into more about commercial pet foods and the relationship between nutritionists and veterinarians, which is kind of like an effed up thing. If you think about it and you read it, it talks a lot about how these nutritionists from the big box pet food manufacturing companies are influencing veterinarians and, marketing their products to veterinarians. And it's just kind of like this weird relationship between the pet food companies and the veterinarians. This part also talks a lot about toxic chemicals in toys, chews, and bedding. Things like BPA, PVC, phthalates, and parabens are all buzzwords if you've been paying attention lately. Things like forever plastics and forever chemicals and how they may be influencing our dogs. Also talks a lot about fragrances, which I know that not a lot of people think about, but fragrances introduce chemicals into the air, into the environment, and that may be influencing our dogs as well.
What kind of fragrances?
Basically any type of chemical fragrances, like Glade plug-ins, things that you would use to freshen the air, laundry detergents, dryer sheets, things of that nature.
Do they mention dog perfumes?
Yeah, perfumes, grooming products, things of that nature. Talks very positively about using high quality essential oils as like fragrances, and those don't seem to be as toxic as other kind of more chemical-y stuff.
Oh, I thought they frowned upon. I didn't read the book, but I thought in general they frown upon essential oils for dogs. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting you.
Well, yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Okay, part 3. Again, kind of gives a little bit more of a framework on what you can do in order to kind of mitigate some of the problems that are presented in parts 1 and 2. The first thing that the book talks about is diet and supplementation in this section of the book. So they use the acronym CLT, which stands for Core Longevity Toppers. And these are things that you can add to your dog's food, again, in order to mitigate some of the quote unquote risks of eating a highly processed food diet. Core Longevity Toppers, I'm not going to name all of them, but they include fruits and vegetables, organ meats, nuts, and herbs. And there also is a lot of mushroom talk in this book. These authors absolutely love mushrooms, and their proposed benefits of eating edible mushrooms, of course. Real no-nos versus choking hazard or no-no foods. And this is where your question is going to come in, Laurie. So the book talks about absolute no-nos being onions, grapes, chocolate, and macadamia nuts. And it compares the European model for these no-no foods with the American model for the no-no foods. And if you look on a list of things that dogs shouldn't eat, you might find things like garlic, avocados, cherries, etc. on that list. And a lot of the things that are on that American list are choking hazards. So for example, cherries might be on there because if the dog doesn't chew it, they can choke on it, or there's a pit in there. Same is true for avocados. But there isn't anything, according to these authors, in avocados or cherries that are poisonous to your dog. In fact, these authors feed their dogs avocados and cherries and spinach and other things that are on the American no-no list. But there are impractical reasons why they are on that list. Like if a dog can choke on it, it'll make it on that list, but a dog can really choke on anything. And essential oils is kind of the same. Like a little bit of essential oils in the air isn't going to negatively affect the dog. You stick the essential oils and the dog gets it on their nose and ingests it, that could be poisonous. So that's kind of the difference between using essential oils in a diffuser just in the air and overexposure to essential oils.
Got it.
This chapter gives 4 points about things that we can manage as best as possible. The first is our dog's diet and nutrition. The authors suggest supplementing anywhere from 10 to 20% of your dog's diet with whole food sources, again, so we can mitigate those chemical byproducts that are in manufactured pet foods. Number 2 is giving the dogs optimal amounts of movement and exercise. 3 is recognizing their genetic predispositions to diseases. And 4 is managing their stress levels and their environment. This section gives in-depth supplementation descriptions. Longevity supplementation, I'm not going to list what they all are, but it kind of distinguishes between essential supplementation and things that you can add for longevity. Again, recommending that 10% of the dog's food should be with real food. And if you follow that 10 to 20% substituting dog kibble for real food, most veterinarians will not butt up against that practice. So I'm going to make an assumption, but most veterinarians kind of frown when you're feeding your dog a home cooked or a raw food diet, right? Because most people might not have the knowledge of how to supplement that food with all the things that the dog needs. So a veterinarian will recommend a vet food or something like that because at the very least, they know that the food is fortified, the dog's getting everything that they quote unquote need. Most vets won't turn their nose up if you say, hey, I'm throwing my dog 10 to 20% of their food as, home cooked food. So it kind of balances vet expectations with trying to supplement your dog's diet with something a little bit more wholesome. A quote from the book: hybrid meal plans or rotating through a variety of dog food products from several different brands over the course of the year are one of the best ways to protect against the pitfalls of a monotonous diet. This section argues that supplements in dry dog food aren't quality and degrade in the heating process, and once the bag is open, begin to further degrade. Some suggestions on how to manage that are to refrigerate the dog food bag and don't buy more than a 30-day supply of dog food so that you can use it quickly. Some starting steps for, again, just looking at things that we can manage a little bit better. Number 1 is our dog's food. Number 2 is removing plastic food bowls, which Laurie and I hate plastic food bowls, not because of the phthalates and the forever chemicals. I mean, that's obviously a problem, but they're just more difficult to clean.
Yeah.
Use filtered water, purge plastics, toys, stuff like that. Remove shoes when you come into the house. clean the air. This can either be through a actual HEPA filter, or you can just open the freaking windows in your house, let your house air out, which Laurie is really good at. I'm like, come into the house sometimes. It's freezing.
I'm like, but doesn't it smell lovely?
Yeah.
I always air the house out. And we wash all of our bones in the dishwasher for the dogs. And we wash the stuffed toys. And if I use them for class, I throw them in the washer.
Yep.
Do that too.
Number 7 is lawn care. Don't use harsh chemicals on your lawn, especially things like weed killers, glyphosate, stuff like that. 8 is household goods. 9 is dog hygiene. Use as many natural products as you can. 10, maintain good oral health for your dog. 11, titer test your dog once they're older and they've received all their vaccinations. And 12, keep noise and light pollution low. That was a very interesting part of this book that I found. They made a lot of claims having to do with studying dogs' anxiety levels when they're subjected to constant noise, either from like fans or radiators or trucks, things of that nature.
Oh no!
And also with light pollution, their dogs are very susceptible to changes in their circadian rhythm. So following the regular daylight schedule for sleep and also for eating and things of that nature. So that kind of, guys, this is a very involved book. It's like almost 400 pages long. Again, these authors are, a lot of people have arguments against some of the claims that the authors are presenting in this book. But I don't think that we can throw the baby out with the bathwater on some of these topics. Like, there are obvious problems with the way that pet food is manufactured. And I think the biggest takeaway for me personally is I should be substituting my dog's food with real food because it just makes sense, right? Like, the authors use a great example, and the example that they use is Ensure protein shakes, and how, like, if you get sick and go to the hospital and they're trying to get you back on eating food or gain weight, or you're receiving medical treatment, they'll give you these supplemented, fortified fake foods basically, but like, you would never go home and just drink Ensure protein shakes for like the rest of your life. You would get better and get well and get back to eating normal food. And pet food in essence is like Ensure protein shakes, right? It's the same exact ingredients. A lot of times the ingredients that they're using in pet foods are not human grade foods, they're feed grade foods. And if you look into that a little bit, it's like kind of a scary place, feed grade foods. And all in all, even if you do get a really, really high quality grade kibble, no dog kibble gets away from the processing. So the heating and reheating of the food, which are giving off these chemical byproducts that don't seem to be that great for cell development and recovery and things of that nature. So again, I'm going to probably go over my other takeaways and changes that I've made and the way that I field questions about this topic when clients ask with Autumn. But I just figured I would present a little bit of that information today. And if you're interested, you can check out the book. Laurie?
I feel bad you weren't able to talk about this with Autumn.
Why?
I don't know, because she read it too.
That's okay. I mean...
But I'm pretty sure it's why there is a ton of raw food in our house right now. Like a ton. Enough that now my bleaching is probably causing problems for the dogs. So I'm going to have to open the windows extra open the windows.
Yeah, I mean, bleach is a great topic, right? Because we use bleach to clean. Because if a dog pukes or has an accident in the house or something like that, you have to clean it up. But we also have apple cider vinegar, lemon juice spray that we use for smaller messes. So like, you don't have to use the same cleaning products for every job. If you have a big job and you need to use like bleach or ammonia and take care of it.
We dilute with bleach. We do not use any ammonia.
Yeah.
I would pass out.
Yeah. It's
the dogs would just diluted bleach. And let me tell you, those Primo pads, I have to soak those sometimes. Like, I just layer on like with a cloth, a diluted solution, and I let them air dry, and then I wash them and then I dry them. But I don't know if anyone else has noticed this, the wire crate bottoms. If a dog has bile and throws up bile,
very hard to clean.
Oh my God, the smell never comes out.
Mm-hmm.
So I mix it in a bucket. I lay the trays out and I just fill them and let them sit with that on it. and then I rinse them and dry them off again. That's the only way I can get the smell off.
The way that I find that gets the smell out is just put them in the sun.
Yeah, damn.
So like put the whole crate outside and just let the sunlight do its thing, because for some reason the bottom of the crate, or they're plastic, right? But it's like porous.
Yeah.
So it's really difficult to clean. And a lot of and the book talks a lot about when they measure like glyphosate levels in dogs, like they're like something like 10 times as high as they are in humans. You know, like when they measure these types of chemical residue in our dogs, like it's so much more than humans, because again, they're ingesting these foods, and then also all of the products that you're using for our dogs, like they're laying on a piece of plastic inside of their crate all the time, all day, whether it's a Primo pad or whether it's like the bottom of a crate. So it's hard to get away from. But again, a lot of the reasons why people refute the things that these authors are saying is they're basically like, it's not as risky as they're claiming. You know, it's not as dangerous as they're claiming. But at the same time, I don't think that there's anything wrong with questioning, you know, the amount of plastics that are in our environment and the amount of like flame retardant bedding that's on our dog beds and on our couches and on our curtains and all of this other stuff. And I think on a very practical level, it's like just air your house out as much as possible. Don't use harsh cleaning products if you don't have to. And, you know, stainless steel, glass, ceramic, as much as you possibly can. And again, like supplementing your dog's food with actual food, which I don't understand why that's such like a crazy idea. It's like, the more that I read about it and think about it, it's like, duh, why wouldn't I just feed my dog real food sometimes? Instead of these hard dehydrated little dog pellets.
Well, I mean, it comes down to convenience.
And affordability.
Yeah.
And culture.
I don't, and then people will always say, well, back in the day, my dog didn't need this. Mm-hmm. We supplement I supplement with easy stuff. Leah feeds Reuben and Raven all raw. And I think the most that Buddha gets is some sweet potato, some pumpkin, some goat's milk.
Yogurt.
Yogurt. I add that to his kibble. He loves sour cream. He's a very strange dog. So I'll supplement with things like that. I mean, it is going down a rabbit hole. I worry about all the plastics that not only the dogs, but us.
Yes.
You know, I already had cancer. I'm like, if I start thinking about this stuff, I tweak out. I have such an addiction to a crispy Diet Coke from McDonald's. I know it's going to kill me. But like, I'm picking my poisons here. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a smoker. I'm not an alcoholic. I can't do drugs. Never worked out for me. They don't calm me down. My Monster drinks is total like, I mean, I'm terrible. I'm like a 13-year-old boy on speed. I'm just constantly I try to like balance it out with water to make myself feel better. I'm like, I had 3 Nalgene's today, which means I can just get rid of all that with a Monster and a crispy Diet Coke. It's like the harder the day. I'll text Leah, if it's not too inconvenient, can you please go get my crack?
Yeah, McDonald's Diet Coke.
She's like, okay, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard. I have vices too. My coffee drinking is not out of control, but I enjoy black coffee probably more than anything else in the world.
Yeah, she just goes rogue. She's got a coffee cup. We have 8,000, that's not a lie, Yetis. But Leah just fills up that coffee cup, regular coffee mug, and on she goes. And as she walks out, I just see a little trail of coffee as the coffee is like flopping back and forth inside the cup.
Yeah, well, the Yetis make the coffee taste weird.
What about your new Starbucks?
Oh, I bought a ceramic coffee mug from Starbucks, and that's nice.
That's good.
Yeah, I like that. But preferably regular coffee mug. I like it.
And just so we're clear, we love Yeti. In case you're listening, I would love some free samples. Yeah. And you can they keep drinks hot, like burn your face off.
The problem.
Hot.
It's too hot. I can't drink it.
I love it. Lightweight.
Hot. Yeah, I think as far as the food stuff is concerned, it's so hard because in our culture, people just feed their dogs dog food. Like a normal person is feeding their dogs dog food. And I hate to say this, but I go into people's homes every day. I'm walking dogs. I'm doing training classes. And 8 out of 10 people have dog food bowls on the ground that they just fill up as needed. And God only knows the last time that dog food bowl hit the dishwasher. So if that's the culture that people are existing in, how in the world am I going to try to convince somebody that they should be cooking their own dog's food or feeding their dogs raw food? You know, every time I prepare the dog's raw food, sometimes I use gloves. I'm like, the sink is just on because I'm constantly washing my hands. And then literally Laurie is like behind me with a freaking bucket of bleach to like,
it just kills me.
You know, so it's hard to like think about how to integrate some of these ideas into practical everyday life. Not for us because I'm a little crazy and I can handle it and I'm clean and I do my research and I know exactly what the dogs need in order to be healthy. But for your average everyday Joe, they're just going to listen to what the veterinarian says as far as what to feed their dog, and thought of cooking for their dogs is kind of out of the question. Additionally, if you don't cook for yourself, if you're eating out 5 nights a week, like, it's okay. Don't bother with your dog because you should be taking care of yourself first. You know, one of the things that Laurie and I do is we cook for ourselves. And it took me a long time to get to this point in my life where I can actually make my own food and eat a nutritious meal every meal of the day. But I know that not everybody is there. So I think there are cultural considerations too to the whole thing.
Well, if you're not washing your dog bowls, you cannot feed raw.
No.
Because the contamination will be
disgusting.
Between your water bowl and the dog switching between the bowl that's never clean, that's not an option for you.
Yeah, and the contamination is more of an issue for the humans than it is the dogs, right? Because dogs like have salmonella and E. coli living in their system. So they can eat raw food and they have a really acidic stomach, and they don't. A healthy dog is not going to get salmonella. But we can get salmonella. And if you have like little kids in your house and babies or old people, they can get salmonella if we don't clean the surfaces properly. So that's really where the risk is for salmonella and things of that nature. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get into some of these topics in a little bit more detail with Autumn when she's available. So to segue, Laurie.
It's not, so it is related because everything I found, I've had some heavy, a lot of grooming lately because, you know, everyone wants to look good for Christmas or Hanukkah or whatever you celebrate. And so I've been making a real point to inspect the dog's mouth every time I groom. I do nails and ears. I don't normally brush the dog's teeth. I might be changing that now because I'm like every 4 weeks, if I brush the dog's teeth, is that helpful? I brush our own dog's teeth once a week or every other week. So I just never thought that every 4 would really do the job.
Can't hurt.
Can't hurt. That's why I'm thinking of just getting some disposable toothbrushes. So I usually nails, ears, and then I start scrubbing away after I've brushed the dog out, depending on who the dog is. And I was really discouraged because I had 3 yellow labs I was grooming in one day. And I found something in every single lab's mouth, from an allergic reaction to a tumor to a small cyst to a lump. And I was like, what the hell is going on? You had walked in the grooming room and I was upset.
Yeah, you were practically in tears.
Because I was finding all these things and I'm like, what's going on? Why am I finding all these lumps on a dog? A month ago, I was finding a ton of lumps. And I know as the dogs get older, they get lumpy. So here's my opinion on lumps, whether you ask for it or not. It's getting to the point where so many dogs are developing lumps, not just from age. It's just what I see as time goes on. If the person, you know the parent, and if the parent is a person who worries, bring the dog in for a needle biopsy. It's just my standard answer now. I mean, you have to tell them, yes, consult your vet. The first move would be a needle biopsy. And then they find out if there's suspicious cells, and then they go in and remove it if you want. The vet will usually say, monitor the lump, and if it grows, we'll needle biopsy it, which is fine. But like I said, if you're a worrier, just go in, because at this point, you're paying for peace of mind. Another thing they say is that if the tumor is found to be fatty tissue, it's just a fatty cyst, they'll say, well, we will only remove it if it impedes the dog's movement, if it seems uncomfortable for the dog. So that's usually, if your dog has this, if you're a pet owner or if you're a dog trainer and you're coming across these things, give the dog a rundown. When you pet them, check underneath the arms, the legs, the side, the neck. Just give the dog a look-see. At least once a week if you see the dog on a regular basis. So just to make everyone feel better, I say, go get a needle biopsy, go to the vet. You're paying for peace of mind. The other thing is with the lumps. That's a wait and see. So I told the parents about it. I took pictures. I sent it to them immediately. Anything that I note on the dog, even if a dog ripped a nail off and the quick is kind of exposed, I tell them, hey, listen, this is what's happening. He might bust this nail depending on the level of activity the dog gets. Then I saw something super weird. A mom had pointed out to me that on one side of the dog's mouth, there was severe swelling of the gums. So I only looked at what the mother showed me. And I said, well, it looks like a dead tooth. Because, now you have to brush your dog's teeth. I am a proponent of it. If your dog tries to rip your face off and it's just not working out, fine, I get it. I thought that the tooth had so much decay that the gums were having a reaction because there was an infection. The vet mentioned something about cutting the gums back. And my thought was, well, why don't you just pull the tooth and call it a day? It's in the back of the dog's mouth. He's an older dog. It's a pet dog. Rip it out, right? Anyway, I said, we'll do what your vet suggests. But there's like a ton of tooth decay, plaque, tartar, whatever.
Can I just press pause for a second? First of all, can you hold the microphone a little closer to your face?
I feel like I'm making out with it right now.
Yeah, good.
Oh my God.
When Lori was grooming this dog, I walked into the grooming room and she was like, look at these teeth. And she pulled up his gums and I said, did he lose all of his teeth? Because I could not see the teeth. His gums were so swollen that they were like covering all of his teeth. And I thought his teeth had fallen out. Yeah. That's how bad it was.
It's crazy. And like, think of an elephant's leg, how it's all wrinkly on the bottom. That's what these gums look like. They were just, the gum was like flopping over the teeth.
But I couldn't even see like a little white. And I got closer and I could see like the little, I'm like, oh yeah, there's his tooth. It's just completely hidden because these gums are so swollen.
So then I looked on the other side of the mouth and those teeth looked beautiful, but the gums were swollen over there too. So I called my dentist.
Your human dentist.
Yes. And I had taken a bunch of pictures and I showed the pictures to her and I said, what do you got, Kathy? I've been going to this lady since 2002. She helped me through my whole cancer journey and my teeth and everything like that because your teeth get trashed during chemo and various treatments I got. And she said, you know what, Lori? It looks like an allergic reaction. And I said, well, this dog is the allergy king. Like, this mom has been working with a doctor who specializes in allergies. Okay, that's possible. And then I asked about the tooth and she said, I would just pull the tooth. Guys, she's a human dentist. I completely understand. But I wanted answers and I like to nerd out on this stuff and I always wanted to be a vet or a vet tech. But I'm not smart enough and I don't want to work on little animals. Can you imagine me picking up a gecko? Please.
I can't even imagine.
I can't, like a snake. Oh, a cat? Screw that. I don't want to die. So she told me, hey, allergic reaction. Hey, I yanked the tooth. I'm like, all right, Kathy. I hang up the phone. Now I'm texting the mom because I'm on the train now. I'm ready. I'm like, let's go. What are we going to do for this dog? Meanwhile, the appointment is scheduled for this gum cutting like in 4 days. They took blood work, whatever. So this dog, like I said, allergy king, he is on cyclosporin. And I did take a picture of the definition. Do you want me to look? Do you want me to tell it?
If you want to.
I feel like dog people need to know.
Okay. I had never heard of cyclosporin Cyclosporin before.
And all the dogs have allergies now, right? So if the dog went to an allergen, cyclosporin is an immunosuppressant medication used to treat immune-mediated conditions in dogs, including atopic dermatitis, skin allergies. It works by adjusting the immune cells to reduce inflammation and itching. Form, capsules, eye drops, ointment, or oral solution. Anyway, it goes into dosage and effectiveness, but the point is that his gums were swelling because he was the 8% of cases that experiences symptoms on cyclosporin, and he's been on it for years. So we found it out. No surgery for this dog because we now need to remove that medication and see where his gums are.
Yeah.
Because the gums were overlapping the good teeth too. I mean, the back ones had the tartar and gingivitis, but not the other side. So I was so psyched to find this out because it was more information for me. And the first thing I thought, I'm like, oh, I got to tell Melissa because I had already told you. But like anytime I find something out, I tell Melissa right away because I used to train her. And so every time I'm like, this is what this is. Hey, if you see this, this is what this is. So then I thought, well, we should talk about it on the podcast that this dog had an allergic reaction and that's what caused those gums to look like that. So, and then I found, like I said, I found that tumor and I had pulled the dog's lower mouth, like lower lip down, and it popped out, and there's no way that a mom would have seen that if she wasn't getting up in her dog's grill.
Yeah.
So that was that. Oh, and then ear infections. If you see the ear getting puffy and very, very red.
The inside of the ear.
The inside.
You have to lift up the ear if your dog's ears are floppy over.
Right. And very dandruffy. That's usually a yeast infection. And if you see a lot of black, chunky stuff coming out, that's usually bacterial. So keep an eye out for that too.
Yeah, clean them up.
And I take a picture, and sometimes if I clean a lot out, I'll take a picture and show it to the parents because if they go to another telltale sign is after I clean it, if the dirt, quote unquote, dirt is back within 2 days, the dog definitely has an ear infection.
Yeah. Gotta go to the vet.
Yeah. And, if they went to the vet the next day and it wasn't back, or if it was just a yeast infection, I'm like, guys, show them these pictures.
And this is just another, I know we're kind of talking about vet stuff here, but I have a yellow lab on my schedule and he has similar types of allergies. And it should go without saying, but it just stinks because the dogs that are always like the sickest with these allergies are just like the nicest ones, just like sweethearts of dogs, like wonderful with the family, trainable, all that stuff. But this guy, his ears get really bad too. And the dad was like, oh yeah, that must have been from swimming. He must have had a bunch of mud in his ears. Uh-huh. And people, when the ears are producing that type of like waxy black residue, it's not because the dog rolled around in the dirt and dirt got into their ear. It's because there's a problem. It's me. It's because there's a problem with like what's actually going on inside their ear and the bacteria that's in there and the way that their body's reacting to it. So just wanted to clear that up. If your dog has stuff in their ear and it looks like tarry mud, dirt, it's disgusting, but it probably didn't come from like the ground and your dog rolling around in the dirt or getting mud in its ears from swimming and stuff like that. It's probably, like Lori said, an infection of some sort.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's all I got.
Yeah, that's all good stuff. Grooming really shows a lot. If you have a good groomer and they mention something to you about the condition of your dog, please listen to them. They know what they're doing because they handle dogs all the time. And also they know what your dog was like the time before and they can notice changes. And good groomers even like write all this stuff down. I know Renee has been on the podcast many times before, and she is one of those people that will write things down and remind owners and keep an eye on things for owners. So all really, really good stuff, useful stuff. And Laurie's also been taking care of our little Raven. She got spayed a few weeks ago. Laurie's been taking care of her incision, and it's healed up absolutely beautifully, but it was looking a little raw there for a little while.
Yeah, I was nervous because there was a little open hole, and I knew that even if they got the stitches out, it was like 3 days away from stitch removal. I'm like, damn it, this doesn't look good. And she's so thin and fit that I was like, oh, is this because... And she, even though she was wearing a cone and we limited activity, no jumping, nothing, her just wagging her ass.
I know.
Do you know what I'm saying? I was like, she's going to bust these stitches open just because of how she moves her body, and she's just doesn't have a lot of fat to work with. It's not like it hangs down. So I had to wash it with a peroxide shampoo, even though it was, you know, you're not supposed to get stitches wet or wash a dog before 14 days. Blah, blah,
You
blah.
didn't wash it before 14 days. You washed it the day before they got removed, which was 13 days.
I think it was 12.
Whatever.
So I was like, ugh. So I washed it down. I dried her off, and then I was putting what's the stuff? Why do I do this?
Some powder. You did the antibiotics, and
I did some
powder.
dry powder and then antibiotic cream, and I just rotated between those two things. It was just that the stitches were too moist, wet down there.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to dry it out, and then once I did that, at least nothing was growing down there. So I did that, and sometimes I did a little antiseptic wash. But yeah, that's what I did. She's all healed up now.
Yeah, she's great. We're back to normal pretty much.
We kept the cone on past 14 days too.
Yeah, because she was licking it. Even though the stitches were out, and it gets wet and it's not completely healed. It's like, you see a little crusty blood on there.
I didn't want her to
later.
Yeah, I didn't want her to crack it open. So just use the cone, because now look, we're ready to go.
Yes, and a few people had messaged me just kind of checking in on Raven. Thank you to everybody who did. And a few people that know Raven, so they know her level of energy and the types of things that she likes to do. And they're asking me like, whoa, man, how did she do with being kind of on the DL for 2 weeks? And the fact of the matter is, she's completely crate trained. She's totally comfortable being in there. And that was the biggest plus, is that she is used to being inside the crate. Additionally, that first day when they get back from the vet, and she's never worn a cone before. And wearing a cone is uncomfortable for most dogs. She's 2 years old. She's never worn a cone before, so I was admittedly a little worried about it. But they're so freaking out of it that first 48 hours that they're coming out of the anesthesia and they're on the medication and things of that nature. She wore it no problem the first day, and then I just gave her a treat. Every time I put the cone on, I stuck my hand inside the cone, had my hand hanging out of the end of it, had a treat. She's eating the treat, slide the cone on her head. Absolutely no problems with her having the cone on for a couple of weeks. And we really did have to be judicious about her wearing that thing, because as soon as it came off, she was going right after the sutures. So I think just consistent training, continuing with the crate training, and then desensitizing the cone and taking advantage of the fact that she was so out of it, because it would have been easy, right? She comes out of surgery. I could have taken that cone off the first night and had her laying in bed with me.
I would never.
And she wouldn't have licked herself, because she literally was sleeping. She was so out of it. But if I had done that, she wouldn't have been used to the cone, wouldn't have gotten used to being in the crate. And one of the really cool bonuses of this whole thing is now we can have bedding inside of her crate, because before the spay, she would kind of get bored and start chewing on towels and things of that nature. So I never had a blanket, a towel, nothing inside Raven's crate. She was like a bear crate dog.
Just the Primo pad.
Right, which I kind of felt bad about, But now I can have a nice fluffy blanket in there, and she can relax and fall asleep and in a secondary way. It just makes me feel a little bit better having her be nice and cozy.
Leah's nice. I just put the cone on. I'm like, this is what you got to do. Here's a cone. Yeah. Will I give you a treat? Sure. But I mean, fact of the matter is you have to wear it.
Yeah.
And she made the boys look like the biggest losers, because Ruben and Buddha hated the cone. Ruben sat with his head flush to the ground with the cone for a good hour of just complete depression before he was able to walk around. Buddha, you would have thought there were shots firing when he had the cone on his head. He hated bumping into things. Was he then barreling things over with the cone? Yes. But did he make life easy? Not at all.
Yeah.
Raven just put her head right in there. Everything was great. Anyway, way to go, Raven. You really pulled it through for the team.
She did, and I admittedly, hopefully Dr. Heckerling is not listening. I didn't even give her the pain and sedative medication for very long because she was chill.
You did for the first
3 days or so.
Yeah, and then there was one day where I said, drug this dog. Drug her. Because she needs to calm down. Needs to calm down. And at least it wasn't like food. Like, because I remember we took away her food for one day because she wasn't feeling well. She had an upset stomach. I have never experienced this with a dog. Usually take away the food is no big thing. She was screaming. Like, give me, as a thick girl myself, I can understand. She was like, give me the food. I said, Leah, this is a nightmare. Like, I would fake put something in the bowl so she would stop yelling at me.
Yeah, she gets very, very demanding around food time, feeding. She loves to eat.
Yeah,
as we do.
I know.
Yep.
Anywho, so we're done with this one. But the next podcast, we're going to talk about the holidays.
The holidays, exactly.
How to work your dog around the holidays.
How to work your dog around the holidays. Hopefully we'll have some company because I really want to talk about staging the dog nativity scene, which, if you've seen it on social media, is the cutest thing ever.
At ABC Dog Training.
And FitPet Boston.
At FitPet Boston.
Yep.
At the Best Buddha, because Buddha's no longer a therapy dog, so I had to change his name. I didn't want to misrepresent
what we're all about. But we had a really, really fun time last Sunday. We were working with Catherine and Melissa, and we staged a dog nativity scene in our backyard, which was hilarious because people were like, where did you go to do this? I want to bring my dog. And we're like, yeah, in the backyard. Yeah. But the spot that we did it in, we usually have that spot chock full of dog training equipment. So I think most people that have been over the house didn't realize that it even existed because there's usually like a table over there and all of our jumps, and I have my frisbee net and just a bunch of stuff. So we moved all of that out of the way, and yeah, we were able to stage a little scene, which turned out to be super duper cute.
Yeah, I just had, I was getting the outfits for like 2 months, and I had an idea in my head, and I knew what I wanted to do, and I knew that Melissa, Catherine, like, I feel like Leah looks at me and you can tell me if I'm lying. Okay, Lori.
No.
Like, are we doing this? Okay. No. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm like, you don't understand. Because once I have the thought in my head, then I'm like, if we do it, it has to be right, and the dogs have to like it. And all the dogs we had liked it. Mm-hmm. They were all getting cookies and breaks and everything throughout the whole thing. It is not fake. People are asking me if it's photoshopped. It is not photoshopped. This is organic, people.
Yeah, and me being who I am, I had very little to do with the preparation for this event. I built some of the setting, and I was very supportive of Lori's ideas. But staging big group shots is just like not really my thing. I like to get action shots of dogs. I love candids. And Lori is exactly the opposite. Like, she really likes a lot of organization. The dogs all have to be looking, and taking the shot is really, really important to her when she's doing these group shots. So for me, I was like, oh yeah, I'll take the picture. And then the day comes, and I'm like a nervous wreck taking this picture. Oh, hang on.
What was that?
Sorry.
Who's that fella?
Sorry. Oh, okay.
Oh, don't you feel like you're being watched?
There we go. We're not.
It's Uncle Bob. Okay,
so I'm taking this picture, and it's dark out, and we're using the lighting to get...
Guys, we have lights. We have lights and umbrellas. This is a professional shoot. I'm telling you, outfits. Leah's looking at me, and I had my cousin's hot glue, like sparkles on 3 boxes for the 3 wise men gifts. I am there with my myrrh, my incense, and my fake gold. Like, I'm there. I am in it now. Mm-hmm. I have a manger that our friend Val built. Leah built the crib for baby Jesus / Charles. Mm-hmm. The outfits were outstanding.
Yeah, we had a lot of hay left over from our Halloween display that
lovely.
we Spread. And like 2 nights prior, I'm setting everything up because I'm like, all right, I got to make sure that like I know what time of day we need to go and then how these lights are set up. And it was very difficult because I don't have the right lens on my camera. So I had to like stand kind of far away to take the shot. So that meant that the lights couldn't be really close together or in front of the dogs. So I'm like, well, there's going to be some shadows and I'm not a photographer. So I'm like, you know, on YouTube trying to figure all of this shit out, trying to get like the best possible shot. And I'm standing there, like, getting ready to take the picture. Nobody that's there, Laurie's friend Tina was there too. I'm a terrible communicator, so I'm not like, get the hell out of the way. So I'm standing there, and all of a sudden, I'm getting super nervous because I'm trying to be in the right spot to take the picture with nobody standing in front of me with the lights out of the picture frame so that I'm not getting, like, the lights as part of the picture. And it's a wide picture anyway because all the dogs are sitting there. And all of a sudden, like, cool as a cucumber me, I'm like sweating because I'm like, holy shit, like this is my job is actually the most important one and I'm not taking this seriously at all. Like
That's nice. That's nice. See, this is what happens. I'm kind of glad that you felt a little ping there.
And then at the end, I was like, all right, hang on. I'm just going to take a quick video and literally just boop, boop, pan my camera over. And then we post the photo and I'm like, oh, I have this video like I should put up on Instagram. And now it's like I posted it a week ago. It's gotten more likes today, which is a week later than when I posted it. So like literally something that I did as like a freaking afterthought being like, oh, I should take some video of this is like what people like the most. So,
I know, it was amazing.
So I'm just like, I was not, I mean, granted, we got a really good photo. All the dogs were looking. The lighting is absolutely perfect. Laurie's friend, who also did our wedding photography, helped us edit the photo, which
helped
was
us
great.
Add light.
Yeah, add some light people. To the to their faces so that we could see
baby
each
Jesus
dog's face like really well, which I'm super grateful for. But hindsight, probably should have. I did take it seriously. I staged. I made sure everything was all set, but my attitude going into things is always like, yeah, it's going to be no problem. And then I'm actually there and I'm like, oh my God, like this is so much pressure.
Well, like I said, it ended up being bigger. Once the dogs were there, I was in it. So it's very hard for me to focus and see the big picture because I'm a freak show about the details. And I didn't even know when Leah was videotaping because I was fixing the hair or putting the hat on or checking the outfits. And there was a point where I gave dog some breaks and I took off their outfit and they got snacks and things like that. So I didn't see what was happening. So I was really glad that Leah took those videos because people love them and they were able to see how happy the dogs were. They were all floating around, wearing their costumes, like getting their little haircut, getting a little adjustment here and there. Mama Rose did some altering of the costumes for the sleeves, not the length, which in hindsight probably should have done the length a little bit. I was just tucking everything under. So I wasn't, but it turned out to be way bigger than I thought. Like I had all those little details and then everything came together. And then Leah was like, oh shoot. Oh God, like Laurie really, really did it up for this one. And, thank God I had like Melissa there. And I had, because I know like me and Melissa are like the sergeants of the group. I know that everybody would just hold place. And there's a piece of the video where Melissa's just like talking it up with Joseph, Mary, and baby Jesus, which are Charlie, Buddha, and sweet, beautiful Penny. Like, guys, I got portrait shots of these dogs. Like, they look like actual saints. I am like, I was feeling every bit of this. And so everyone else liking it was so awesome.
Yeah.
So awesome. And I'll tell you why the numbers are up. Because Ma was hanging out with the ladies from the church and all the Italians found out, dude. So like all the Italians are like, oh my God, let me go check this out. And then my family is super holy, right? Some Protestants everywhere. And they're like, this is amazing. It's all Jesus related.
I was worried that people were going to find it like sacrilegious. My mom and my sister said the same thing. She's like, I hope nobody finds this sacrilegious because it's hilarious. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I never thought about that. And then I was talking to Laurie's dad, Augie, and he was so funny. He was like, I'm looking at this picture And I'm thinking to myself, how many weddings have I been to? You know, when they get the whole bridal party up there and they need to take a photo of the bridal party, they can't even get people to sit and stand in the right and look in the right direction and hold their hands properly. And here you have these dogs and they're perfect. I'm like, yeah, that's a good
Dad's
point.
funny. Dad's funny. And he said,
cracking me up.
and he said, Lori, I went up the stairs. Yeah, I like went to go see them. Lori, you know, you don't have any patience. He said, but you had so much patience because they're watching from the window up on top and they can see.
Whole time.
And I could hear my mother go, oh my God. And I looked up and I like put the, like, I'm going to cut your throat sign. I was like, I love you. Stop talking. Because I didn't want anything past like neighborhood sounds. Because, I mean, she talks loud and the dogs know her. She's the cookie lady.
Yeah.
So I didn't want them to, you know, have their heads all looking up. And he goes, but you have so much patience for those shots. I said, Dad, there's a goal, Dad. I was like, and you have to take it one piece at a time. And I know that everyone knows that because it's how I am. It's one piece at a time.
It took so long too. Catherine showed up to our house at like noon. We started taking photos at like 4. We didn't finish until 6:30. It was a long day.
Yeah, the dogs weren't being like Catherine and me.
It was everything all together.
Right.
Setting everything up, making sure everything fit in the frame, making sure the costumes were on good, and making sure that, you know, we had a couple of different groups too. We had some dogs that weren't in the final photo, but were a part of it just because, you know, you have to have the right dogs with the right temperaments. Just like Colton was the rock in the whole thing. Like, he put his costume on, and he just sat there like, what are we doing?
Yeah, he was on a podium, and I'm like, just stay there. Like, you knew that you had the tried and trues, and there were some dogs that are amazing, but they didn't like wearing costumes.
Yes.
And I couldn't have them in the shot.
No, because if they don't like wearing costumes, you're just torturing them.
Yeah. So the whole point is just what I said in my post. 1, make it good. If you're going to do something, do your best. Do the best. And then 2, the dogs have to love it. And now I'm just really happy because everyone's enjoying it more. It turned out to be more than I could have hoped for. And yeah.
I sent a picture to my 94-year-old aunt, and she emailed me back. I have shown everybody in the church group. I have shown everybody in my, like, she just shows everybody. It's so funny because, like, even people that aren't necessarily on social media just, like, get such a kick out of it. It was so funny.
Yeah. So hopefully Catherine and Melissa can say how they felt during that time and how they deal with me as a human during these things. Like, Melissa's used to me. Leah's used to my craziness. These are the people who like know how psychotic I am.
You're not psychotic. You just, if you have an idea, you want to get it done. I'm the same way. It's just that I don't have the same ideas. You need a little bit of that. And a little bit of levity. You know, training dogs is hard. It's hard work. Hard work working with people. Hard work working with behavior issues all the time. Trying to manage everybody's personality. Trying to be the best you can possibly be. Like, it was just fun to do something a little bit different.
Yeah. And then the parents who were awesome, dropping off their dogs for us to do this. 2 of the parents were ones that said, hey, have you ever thought about doing a nativity scene? Because a few came out on Instagram, and I was like, oh, I'll give it a shot. And every year we're like, we should do it. And I think 3 months ago I had started getting the outfits in. Yeah,
you've been hoarding outfits for a while now.
Yeah.
Getting stuff in. If one teeny tiny little criticism was to get the outfits to look good when they're on the dog, it's kind of a pain to get them actually into the outfit because everything has to be like kind of fitted.
Yeah, that
was tough.
I used a lot of like cinchers in the back of the outfit.
Mom,
so that
Raven's costume was tight. Once it was on her, it was fine. But like getting her into it, I was like, oh my God, like this is crazy.
Well, it was mostly like he was drooping. And then Monty, one of the 3 wise men, he looked like he just got out of a bar, like he was a Guido in a bar. He's just an Italian man with chest hair, was popping out of his shirt. And I was like, he's supposed to be a wise man. And he looks like he's had a hard night at the bar.
Well, and the hats were so funny on the wise men. They were like all over the place.
The hats pretty much like Tucker is a champion. He loves wearing a good hat. And Monty loves a good outfit. He was during Halloween, he was the policeman during the the YMCA. He was the cop. And he loved his hat.
Oh my God.
His mother gave him that outfit, not me. I know. They're like, don't worry about my side job.
Hose.
So Monty's hat kept like going cockeyed. And I was like, damn it, why is his hat the only one that's a Piper too? Anyway, that's all, guys.
It was fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
I had a great time.
It's fun. Yeah, but the holidays are definitely upon us, and we have done absolutely nothing in our own personal space. We do not have an emotional support Christmas tree this year.
No.
Because we've been doing this dog nativity scene.
Yeah, like I'm spent. I didn't even do any other pictures. Like normally the only thing people are going to get is dogs having fun.
Well, we did the calendars. Laurie spends the better part of 2 weeks putting together portrait calendars every year for our clients, which they absolutely love. I absolutely love. So those are out. They're being passed around. If you are a client and you haven't got one yet, please hit us up. I've been dropping them off during my travels this week and when we see people. And then I did Christmas cards this year. I picked kind of a weird photo. So people are like, what is this photo? But it was a photo of 3 dogs like running towards me. And I took a shot and Tucker's ears are like flying out. It was so funny. So yeah, I love doing Christmas cards for my clients. So I figured like last year, well, in every previous year, except I think the first year that I ever was in business. The first year I wrote personal notes. And then since then I've done like a collage of all my dog walking dogs out in the woods and or whatever we do. And then this year I said, okay, I'm going to just put one picture and then I'll write a nice personal note on the back of each card. Oh my gosh, the amount of mental energy that takes. It's like I'm writing them. Laurie's like, bet you're regretting doing those personalized notes this year. I'm like, no, I don't regret it. I'm glad that I can put some cogent thoughts together and tell these people how grateful I am and, you know, being able to hang out with their dogs and everything else. But it did take me a while.
Like once the nativity scene was done, I'm like, that's it. Christmas is a wrap. We're done. Go on to January. Like I was between the calendars and preparing, and I just I needed to worry about classes. We're trying to fit those classes in before the holiday to make sure that these people are okay with their young dogs or okay with their rescue dogs or adult dogs, whatever. And I was like, okay, now I can focus on this next thing. Like I'm very much a person that needs to focus on one task at a time. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm doing 20 things at one time, but if it's this huge task for me, like if it's a big thing, it was just easier to be like, okay, boom, calendars are done. Oh, okay, good. Yep. Next, okay, this needs to get done. Okay, holiday schedule for next year. Okay, that has to get done. So Christmas is over.
And I think it's kind of a good time for all this to be happening because as far as like working with our own personal dogs, like we're not doing any trialing right now. I don't have Frisbee going on. I don't have any seminars or anything like that on the schedule. So, and I think it's kind of been like that for the past couple of years, but we also have historically gone out, Laurie has at least, and I have, to Springfield over the Thanksgiving holiday to do trialing and things like that. And we weren't doing any of that stuff this year. So it kind of left a little bit more room for other things, which has been kind of nice because there's a season for everything. And with Raven going through heat cycle and then getting spayed, we haven't been doing any trialing, or I didn't even do Frisbee with her in the fall. So
I could have never...
Yeah.
I can't even imagine
me
trialing or going away for the Thanksgiving cluster and even being able to focus on it. Like, no way. I'm so glad I wasn't trialing, and I won't be for a while. So
yeah, same. We're working on our advanced obedience right now, and it's coming along. But one of the things that I have had to learn is patience. And really working on generalizing a lot of the behaviors that Raven and I have been working on, and it's going really well, but it's not a instantaneous process. It takes a long time. And one of my goals for this year is to bring her someplace every week and train obedience so that we can be a little bit more generalized, because she can definitely do all the things, but it's just a matter of getting out into those different environments and proofing the behaviors, which is really important. So this week we went to Chow Bow Wow in Winchester Center. Really cool pet store if anybody is in the area and you're looking to support a local business. Chow Bow Wow, they have, speaking of dog food and stuff like that, but all of like the dehydrated dog food products like Stella and Chewy, ZB Peaks, all that other good stuff if you're using that for training. They have it and it is cheaper than Chewy. at Chow Bow Wow in Winchester. They also carry a lot of high quality kibbles if you're looking for like open farm or from or carnivore. If you feed any of your dogs those types of foods, they keep a really nice stock of all those food products, which is cool. And again, if you look at the prices, comparable, if not cheaper than Chewy, and they have membership rewards programs. You can get free stuff, which is really, really cool. Super duper nice people in Winchester Center. It's called Chow Bow Wow, and I believe they have another location as well, but big fan of that store. And of course, you can bring your dog in there. Raven and I did some training in there when I was picking up a couple of things, which was great. And yeah, always like to support local business.
Yep. I think the next podcast will be about dogs and holiday, and then maybe we can get Melissa and Catherine on.
Yeah, totally.
And that's that.
Totally. That's that. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning into the show. If you are interested in what you're hearing, if you found any value in it whatsoever, please feel free to like, subscribe, and share the podcast with your friends. It really helps more people listen to the show. And Merry Christmas. We will see you next time.
Bye-bye.